Oh, I didn't even shut my door. Let me go shut my door. And then we'll get started. I was just getting right into the mood, apparently. Right into the mood for today's Mystic Hotline Q&A. And today we're going to be talking about manifestation, how you can improve your manifestations, connect to a deeper, I'm going to say revelation around what it is that you're creating in your life, all that good stuff. So let me know. Hi, Meredith. Hi, nice to have you here. Let me know, where are you finding, I guess, your manifestation challenges, or if you have any wins of what are some intentions that you've had come to fruition in your life. I'd love to hear those, because one thing I would say I've learned along this path is when we share our manifestation experiences, our wins, our challenges, our failures, that's when we can really start to grow and learn. And we start to really develop our manifestation ability, okay? So I have some questions I am going to go through with you, hopefully cover everything. We will see. There might be a bit of a going off on the tangent, because even as I went for my walk this afternoon, I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, there's some areas I didn't even put in my notes, but they were like at the base, like foundation for me around my like ability to manifest. So wherever you are, whatever's going up, put your questions in the comments, in the chat. Maybe I will just put that here. Please leave your comments, questions. Okay. I'll pin this and see what shows up. So let's start. 3:33, what a perfect time to start. So when we talk about manifestation, this is such like a buzzword, huge word, a concept, and there's like a few different areas I think that are also tied to this. Oftentimes, you know, when people are talking about manifestation, they're referencing things like law of attraction, magic, visualization, all sorts of different aspects, the subconscious imprinting. But when we talk about manifestation, like, I just really want you to know that you are manifesting all the time. Just you simply being here, choosing right now, you are creating something. You are making it real. And I wanted to get into some gematria about the name, or like that word manifestation, but I don't think I'm going to. Hi, Nezrin. Hi, Govind Kulo. Hello. Thank you for the comment. But those of you who are like into the gematria, into these concepts of seeing the words, seeing the letters is deeper, I invite you to like look into that for yourself in your own time, and just kind of like sit with that and reflect on how that ties even to this concept of manifesting. A bit about me is like my background, besides being like a former psych nurse, but my whole like development of spiritual experience was tied to the shamanic path. And in shamanism, we talk about this idea of the dreamer, this dreaming aspect of ourselves, and that we are constantly dreaming, whether it's this awake dream or the sleeping dream. You are constantly creating your reality. And until you can come to understand that you are constantly impacting and creating the experiences, whether you like them or not, right? Until you experience or really embrace that knowledge, take that ownership of that concept, you're going to kind of like float through life feeling either like a victim, feeling like you don't have choice, feeling as though nothing is working out for you. And the main key to me, the beautiful thing about manifestation is that you get to take the reins, so to speak. You are no longer living up to other people's manifestation. You get to choose and see your life play out in a way that aligns with your inner calling. And that's really what we're about here. We all are meant to experience life in our own ways, experience this life, I think, to the fullest way, because that's why Spirit created the world, created this experience, is so that it could experience itself. It could experience itself through the creations and witness all the different constellations, I guess, of energy. So there's so many different ways in which you can manifest. And it's really up to you. What I encourage you to do is to follow what feels true, what feels right, what feels exciting, because that could look so different, right? Not for everyone, shamanism is that first step. Not for everyone, magic or ritual, ceremony, blood sacrifice. I don't know, just kidding about that, but maybe not. Tarot cards, intuitive readings, the ruins, that law of attraction, the secret. Not all of these things are going to align for all of us, but the beautiful thing is that you are creating those opportunities for yourself. Because your soul knows, right? Your soul knows what's going to be at each little destination point along the path of your life. You just get to choose then if you want to explore it or not. So what works for you? What are some areas that you've been maybe contemplating trying? And one thing I really want to encourage you is if you've been thinking about trying something around manifestation, magic, different spiritual practices, or not even a spiritual thing, it could be something completely different. If you've been feeling that nudge, that's usually your soul kind of being there might be something there, go for it, go for it. How can you start in just a really small way? And it might be just simply looking up online, reading books about it, watching videos. You don't have to do anything else beside that. But the main reason I say that is I'm using a recent example where I've been diving more into the actual philosophy and the teachings around chaos magic. As in, we were talking about this not that long ago, but this idea of well, what does chaos magic mean? What does chaos mean? And this negative connotation about it. But the more I read and the more I recognize oh wow, this is actually way more aligned, and I've been practicing these things unknowingly that they had a title or a label. It helps me to have a bit more openness towards what else is possible. So I just want to speak that to you if you're kind of at this beginning step. And then there's no right or wrong, and there's no place you need to be with your manifestation ability, your magic, your willingness, or how big your manifestations or how small your manifestations might seem. It's ultimately what you get to choose. Forget what everyone else is doing. You don't have to try to manifest a car. You don't have to try to manifest XYZ if that doesn't align for you. Okay? Thank you for all the comments. Yeah, the purpose of this channel really, Govind Kulo, is to just up-level humanity through spiritual, magical, amazing things, energy. Hello, Rafin U4K, Saman, thanks. Hi from Iran, hello. Cool. I can kind of read Arabic, but I don't really know what it says. How horrible is that? It's like my Hebrew I get. I can read it, but what it says might be a whole other thing. So what works for you? And I'm going to talk a bit about the 4 stages of manifestation. I think it was 4. I don't know, something like that. But now that I say 4, it's funny my mouth just spoke that, because as I went for my walk, I realized, I didn't even think about talking about the elements, those 4 elements, technically 5, but 4 main elements that we talk about as the kind of building blocks to manifesting, creating something you want. And it really does start with this idea of, so we have air, which is our thoughts. So you kind of get this inspiration of something that you want to see happen. And then you have your heart energy, which is our water. And then you have the fire energy, which is the will. It's the action. It's that doing and initiating energy. And then you have the earth. And that is the manifestation, the tangible reality. And you could also say the actual like doing the things, okay? Having it then manifest, show up in your world. Oh, Persian. Sorry, thank you. Okay, so the first step, I would say, is to have your intention. And you might wonder, like, well, how do I come to that intention, right? I personally do feel the more, well, at least the more I'm realizing now, is there are things that the ego wants, that part of you that like is very much based in survival, in fitting in and belonging, those like keeping up with the Joneses kind of area where you're like, okay, oh, well, everyone in my neighborhood has this particular wardrobe. I need to manifest that. I need to have that in my life. When it's like, it's kind of more of like an egoic manifestation, which doesn't make it any less of an important part. It's just, I think it's really important when we talk about when you have these intentions of what it is you want to see happen, or when you what you desire to see happen, is that it comes from a really deep part of yourself that feels called to experience it. In my personal journey, or on my personal journey with the manifestation, is I find when I like come from a place of the ego desire, the thing I think I want because of, you know, whatever I've been told I need to, it's a belief I have, I see other people, or it's just like, oh, well, that's just the natural next step, right, of my life, or as a spiritual guide, or whatever the case might be. When I come from that place, yeah, it seems as though if it does manifest, because yeah, it doesn't mean it's not going to, usually it ends up being this like huge learning moment of like, oh my God, I don't believe I asked for that. And that can be a hard part when we're talking about manifestation, is that you are going to get what you desire, what you put out there, especially when you're tying in other magical things. And you have to be so damn ready to get it. And what I've witnessed doing magic for people, rituals, doing like partner or group rituals, and witnessing the outcomes of it. And also just my own life where it's like, oh shit, I don't know if I actually want this. Or the outcome, if not specific enough with that intention, can be a little bit of a shakeup. And a lot of people don't like that, right? We want our life to be so smooth. But the beautiful thing about magic, especially when we come from a deeper like middle path, I think, is that you start to learn that it's neither good nor bad. It just is. It's an experience, right? Experience of your life. Hi, Yvonne. Thank you. Oh, I'm getting all these nice comments. Thank you, folks. So this intention that you start with, this air energy, is usually stated in a positive statement. And usually it's like, oh, I want to have this trip to Paris. I want to go to Paris, experience the French culture, eat baguettes and cheese and wine. Oh, it's very probably stereotypical. Like, clearly, I haven't been to France. And walk along, the countryside. I don't know what the hell people do in France. But when you use the term I want, I'm going to just say I want. That in itself is this energy of lack. It means that you don't have the thing. And the first step really is to believe that you have something, okay? Believe that you have something. And then that will show up, right? Because it's going to be this movement from what you believe inside into then this projection out into your reality. Because everything is just energy. When we are manifesting, we're ultimately holding something internal and then letting it show up in our external world. It just can take time for that to happen. You might even notice how those manifestation periods of time are happening quicker now, where you have a thought of like whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden it shows up. I've had this happen a lot where I'll be like, you know what? really feeling like a dinner, like ordering something in tonight or eating this particular meal or something will be like great. And then someone will be like, oh, here, like, here's this delicious meal. It's like, oh, this is exactly what I wanted. Like, things like this happen like almost instantaneously now. And it's like this wording, I want. Some other ways you can explain it, I'd say, or like reframe is like, I will too, meaning like you have this like internal drive to experience something. To will means to like have it carry out in your experience. So I will, I desire, I am, especially the I am when you are wanting or in this place of wanting to create like a internal shift, because manifestation doesn't necessarily always mean a thing outside of you. And to me personally, the best magic happens and the most aligned way with our soul happens when we create this internal alignment of energy to that which we perceive ourselves to be. So with that being said, you know, you could do magic and be like, I want to have all this money in my life. Okay, so you have like $1 million. That's great. Except when you still hold certain limiting beliefs that you only deserve to be poor, or you only deserve to work hard for your money, or, you know, any of these things. And then what happens, people's money, it just goes, right? We need to have this like internal alignment. And so that I am prosperous, I am abundant. Those are concepts or like intentions that probably are better serving for you in the long run. So this, starting with your intention, stating it in the positive, declaring it in a way, writing it down in a journal, right? Which kind of like really, I have a part here about the magical journal, but if you don't have a journal where you're writing down manifestations, your practices, but especially manifestations or your rituals around that, I would say get on that. Like that's a huge part with like any magical practitioner. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about, Real Cowboy Dan, but you can listen until, yeah. Thanks, Desrin, yeah. Rice here. Can you please say it? So, first step comes with your intention, the desire that you wish to create. How clear can you get on it? Because I think you have to be clear. So many times people manifest asking for a particular thing. You'll like read examples where people asked for certain relationships, like a husband, you know, and yet they didn't care to ask for like an available husband who will be there and love me unconditionally. You know, instead they get someone who's like working 24/7, not really around, and isn't actually the type of relationship that they wanted. So getting clear on it. And that's where either you be clear, you be open to the universe bringing you in your what's in your highest good. The next step really is like that emotionality. And to me, this is where ritual comes in, because what ritual does is it aligns us to a particular energy or a feeling. Whether it's like that emotional feeling, and also for me personally, it's a bodily sensation. And so what happens is we tune in through ritual or ceremony into this particular way of bringing something into fruition. So this can be ritual as simple as like your full moon magic rituals that people do, you know, where you light a candle, you honor the moon, you set your intention, you let something go. Or it can be deeper than this, like deeper shamanic ceremony, right? Blood magic, sigils, anything like chaos magic, servitors. And if you're not really sure about things such as sigils and so forth, I would definitely recommend like my basic sigil class that's on YouTube. You can look it up. And then I have like an advanced version too in the membership. It's also on my Gumroad shop if you want to check those, purchase both of them and support the channel. but definitely tuning into these different practices, and practices that have been like tried for centuries by different people, whether you do it by yourself or with others. Sometimes there can be power in like couple, group, or doing it with someone, that you trust. Tuning into a practice that's going to elicit this certain feeling. And this can take time. I think the first few times, like you're doing a ritual, especially by yourself, you're kind of like, oh, is this right? Like, what's going on? That's why it can be great to do it with others. Just people who are like experienced and that you can trust, that they're safe, they ain't gonna do any like weird shit with you. But you need to like practice, you need to just do it. And I am a personal believer that you get to just incorporate the practices that you want to practice, that you want to explore, because it's you. And I'm really like wanting to step more into that personally right now, is how do I develop my own rituals and practices from like older formulas that exist, like the lesser banishing ritual, all these, I think it comes to a point where you have to find what feels true for you, not what is true for other people. And so all of this stuff, it incorporates when we do ritual, this feeling. And I think a lot of that feeling comes because we are visualizing. You are getting to the point where you're seeing and experiencing that which you would like to create in your life. And you let that build up. It builds up an energy like this, like fiery, almost like juicy excitement inside yourself. So however you want to do this work, there's so many different ways. It really does involve the eliciting this emotional feeling, kind of like drawing up this energy inside of you and channeling it towards your intention. And the best way to do it, the best way to learn is just to try. I have new moon rituals here in the membership. There's rituals I also have just in the general public, but every month we do a new moon ritual. So that can look so different from month to month, because I really, again, believe you follow your intuition. You create what you want to create. It could be in the moment, what you're experiencing, and your inner guidance and intuition inside you knows exactly what's going to be the thing that helps you. Okay? So, okay, let's move on to the next thing. Letting go. So step 3, it's tied to the doing, do the work, and the letting go of the intention. This is a huge thing around like sigil magic, where we create a particular like symbol or image for our intention, and then we usually burn it, or you do something with it. And for me, I personally like burning it either right away or like a day or 7 days after, because it just like sends it out and I can get out of my head, because it's so easy for us to have these expectations of having that manifestation come to life. And when we get stuck in that expectation, it never happens then. It doesn't happen. I can tell you that I like manifested so many things for other people, probably more than I've manifested for myself in like a conscious way, where it's like, what? Like, what the fuck? And maybe that's the power of having cooperative workings or magical workings, because there's just something, that seems to work. Like the biggest manifestation I'd say I've created, well, for someone else, at least tangibly, which also I benefited from, was winning tickets to see Taylor Swift, all expenses paid trip. And that was for my kid. It was like very much, I practiced visualization. There were certain things that I was kind of like exploring, but I didn't have this like holding on to needing it to happen. And the one way I definitely did not have the holding on is because I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. I didn't tell her the possibility of this trip. I didn't tell anyone. I was just like, you know what? Entering her into this contest. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to do my work over here, visualizing. And that involves taking the steps, right? Like I can't just sit here and then think, oh, okay, I want to go see a concert, but not like go looking for tickets, not like doing the things that I internally feel called to do. And that's a huge part, is you have to take actionable steps that you feel called to take. You can't just say, ask the universe and then be like, okay, I'm going to just sit here now. Where is it? I want to find the perfect partner, right? Oh, they're coming, they're coming. But you're like not going on the dating apps, even though you keep seeing like, I don't know, a Tinder ad or something. You're not going out to the speed dating events. Like, you have to take actionable steps that align with it. And if you're not sure what that actionable step is, ask Spirit to really clearly show you what it is. Because again, we are the creators of our reality. We have to take action inside and outside. And sometimes when, I mentioned those like I am statements and getting clear on the internal evolution of yourself, like maybe you want to become more grateful, for instance. And gratitude and manifestation are kind of the themes coming up in December. That's why we're having this conversation now. Say it's like you desire to just have more gratitude in your life, to have people more grateful for you, whatever it might be. Then you got to then take the actions that show up. Maybe it's like all of a sudden you start hearing on podcasts, people are talking about having a gratitude journal, right? It's like, it's one thing to just be like, oh, that's nice. It's another to be like, I'm going to implement that. I'm going to give it a try. That's part of my intention. So all this stuff kind of tying together. You can't just keep visualizing, right? You have to take the steps. You might have to make a phone call. You might have to sign up for a class. And I really do want to add to the idea where this is like a hard part for me, and I think for many people, is having the faith around going for the things you want. And so, I think of one time I wanted to sign my kid up for like a particular after school, like extracurricular activity. And I'm like, oh, like, should I pay for this? Like, that's a lot of money. I don't know. And it got to the point where it's like, I know that this is going to be the thing. Like, she is desiring this. I feel like this is a great step. Even though those financial pieces aren't in order, like, I feel like this is it. And it was like, I did it. I signed her up. And literally that day I got like the exact same amount of money in the bank account. Like, that's happened quite a few times. It's happened for me personally with certain experiences that I wanted to have. And yet, it's like a fine line balance, because some people will like, oh, I'm going to just keep spending and doing this and doing that, and put themselves deeper into like a debt hole. But I think that's where it comes in, that ego, like checking your ego, checking, is it actually what I want? Or is it someone else wants me to do this? Or it's what I think I want, but really inside it's like, you don't really care about it. You don't really care. You have to be honest about that with yourself. I'm learning that definitely for some things in my life right now where I'm like, oh, I thought I really wanted that. It's like, oh, maybe it was actually someone else's like desire. Maybe I didn't, it's just something I thought I had to do. When it's like, actually, I feel like my energy is really actually going in this direction now. So learning to just trust your intuition and still kind of make some jumps or leaps of faith. Okay, what else did I write here? Oh, so many things. So another thing around like the ritual part I want to say is it's ideal to not focus on other people. So say the best example is like relationship. You desire to have this particular relationship in your life. Maybe there's someone that you really like or dig, and you're like, oh, I want them to like me. I would love a relationship with this person in particular. Okay. There's a lot of danger with that because they also have their own free will, their true will. They get to experience life the way they feel called. And no matter how much magic you do, that overriding someone else's directive or attempting to, I think has a lot of karmic consequences. So it's something to be aware of. If you are constantly like trying to manifest particular things and it's not working, turn it towards yourself. Focus on inside work. Okay, I'm going to do this ritual instead. Instead of looking for love outside, I'm going to learn, how do I love myself? How do I build this relationship with myself? How do I feel more abundant instead of chasing out for money? Like all this internal world, because that again, we're going to talk a bit more about the subconscious and how those beliefs are what really like give you what you see. And it's interesting because the back of the head where the subconscious is also where the optic nerves and the optical part of your brain is. So you literally will see the things out in your reality that you hold true in your brain. So if you are someone that constantly sees the negative, you might see that glass is half empty. Versus if you see things as positive, you're going to see things as like glowing and the glass half full and whatever other positive energies there might be. So super important for you, just something to be aware of. There's this idea of like the high magic and low magic, which when I did some like more research on this, I'm like, oh, okay. You know, some people like the high magic is like the ceremonial magic, those like the Order of the Golden Dawn, all these sorts of like practices where you do certain formulaic rituals. And oftentimes people think those are like better than the low magic, even though low magic is more like earth-based, the folk magic, to me, the shamanic stuff. And there tends to be this hierarchy. But I think it's like something about combining both. The other thing is sometimes people would say like high magic is better to do versus being so focused on like the low magic material world of like, oh, we gotta like, I have to get money for my rent. You know, it's like, okay, if that's like a work that you're constantly doing, maybe you need to look deeper, right? And that's where looking and connecting to the higher aspects of yourself through, in high magic, we focus on the divine names, angelic names, the planetary connections, all of the elemental connections. Like it's at a deeper, divine, like spiritual level that then is going to ripple into your physical world. So you can work on both, I think, and have a balance of both because we're human. We're meant to. We have a soul. We have a body. We are meant to find alignment of both these things to make a third, right? And that to me is like true manifestation, true alignment. But if you're focused on only one or the other, it can lead to like scarcity and like intense, selfish sort of ways of being. And on the other end, even high magic can lead to just like arrogancy and that mightier than thou kind of perception. And sometimes people get stuck, or other things happen that like, you know, magic, you have to be safe with some of these practices. There's some of them that it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I didn't even talk about the demonic energies, like working with demons, with the goetic energies around magic. Personally, from my experience, that's like definitely not like beginner magic. If you're going to start introducing demonic or goetic energies into your practice, I think you really need a strong foundation of magic, of banishing and like protection, and also like an internal compass of like a, you know, and like a sureness, a sense of personal power, because otherwise it can drive people a little bit like insane. It can be overwhelming, really overwhelming. Just reading some of the comments. I was just talking about the snake and horse gear, real cowboy Dan. Thanks for that. Yeah, lots of growth. Yeah, may it be for you this turning of tides. Release, like allowing butterfly fly out of your hands. I like that, Nazrin. Yeah, you have to let it go. You have to let it go. So yeah, if you're thinking about, you know, going and summoning that demon, you know, those 72 goetic demons, to help you find the treasure. Oh, it'd probably help you find it all right. And the things that you might have to go through to experience that, you have to really be willing to go through it. And Unfortunately, that can be a little intense. Not everyone is capable or ready to do that, and that's okay. I think you learn and you. I remember actually, you know what? There's this one magic book I had. Okay, I have like a couple here. I'm going to share some books. But back when I kind of first started on my magic, I was really into like the Damon Brand books. And how can I word this? There is one, what's it called? Magical Cash Book. I think that's what it's called. Oh, you guys, like, I'm just like, I laugh because it's like, oh my God, Fola, like, I don't believe you. Like, what were you? Anyway. So that whole concept is you work with a particular entity and you create this book that you write your desired money manifestations in. And it's a whole process to create the book. There, you know, talismans and all this fun evocation stuff. So I made this book, and that night, this was kind of again at the beginning of my journey. So it's like there was a bit of this like desperation and like novice nature of I had no idea what I was doing. I was just willing to play around with anything. But that first night, that intense dream, lucid experience that I had after I just charged the book, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is something I can do, but I did it. And then I brought this book with me to go to like a week-long event. And as I was about to like approach the place where we were hosting, like this land, I just kept thinking like, I don't feel like I should have this book here. Like, I don't really know what this is. And I feel like super irresponsible now bringing it to someone else's place, to their energy, and like wanting to use it there. And so I literally threw this book out, like this magical journal book I made just on the ferry garbage. And I just remember being in so much fear because I didn't really have an understanding. And then I kind of like was like, you know, beating myself out and it's like, oh, damn it, like you wanted this thing. And so it's funny because we talk about fears, right? We don't really think about the fears blocking manifestations, but that can be a huge thing. And for me, growing up in a very Christian home, there was like so much around that, especially when you get into spirits, entities, demons, like all that stuff, right? I will say that like when probably several months later, at some point, I returned back to that practice. I've used that cash book idea a few times, and like I'd say it works. You know, it was kind of like a I want to say it's like an immature kind of like novice approach, but very simple. And the second time around, different approach, different energy, different consciousness for myself entering into that, where I felt a bit more empowered than I initially did. So that's one thing I want to say. There's some magic rituals that I'm like going through. I've gone through them 2 or 3 times. Like maybe they're a series of like, you know, 36-week workings or like a year-long working where I've done them now 2 to 3 times. And like that second time working on those particular rituals, it can really shift. You start to notice the difference. I honestly think we should go through anything. So like the path working we're doing with the tarot cards, if it's the 72 names of God, for instance, of the Shem HaMephorash, like doing those things 2 to 3 times completely, it's going to completely shift your consciousness, your understanding about magic, your understanding about manifestation. So whatever that practice is for you, whatever it is you're working on, you know, maybe you're into like Kundalini yoga and you've just coming up to finishing a 40-day Kriya practice. I invite you to do it again. It doesn't have to be right away. Give yourself like a few months. Go back to it, return to it, and see how much more profound the learnings are. It's actually really, really neat. Okay, so I guess this kind of ties into what might be stopping your manifestations, which was my next question. So your beliefs, your subconscious programming, the things you tell yourself are true or you've subconsciously been told or told yourself is true, you know, like you deserve to be poor, you deserve to never find love, you deserve to, you know, not be successful, you can never do that thing, you could never speak in public, whatever it might be. There are beliefs. And the coolest thing about magic in this manifestation process is when we do ritual, it brings those things to the surface. You got to start seeing what those beliefs are and then take the actionable step to create change. Affirmations, therapy, coaching, mentorship, energy healing, whatever it might be. Just, tapping is a great one I find helpful. Whatever it is, you get to become aware of that. But those beliefs are oftentimes holding you back from creating the things you want to see created. Another thing is like people too much are like talking about the thing that they want to see happen. This is a tough one because there's like certain people I'll talk to, close friends, people I trust, or maybe we're aligning with certain manifestation inquiries. And so like talking with them, I feel like it's okay. And yet at the same time, now I'm learning to be more like silent. Because when you speak it out, like I said, it's like everyone's energy gets into it. Even especially the people you think would be the most supportive, they tend to be the ones that aren't. And I think that's just because they're mirroring to you those subconscious beliefs, those beliefs that you can't have or do what you are feeling called to create. And so they're mirroring a bit of your own disbelief, and you may not believe that it's possible. And this is where having that manifestation journal, magical journal, keeping track of all the times that things you've asked for have come to be, even if it's not done in like a ritual, because, ask and ye shall receive. You just wake up and say, hey, how can today be the most magical day for me? And then that night, write down what happened that was the most magical thing for you, however big or small. But you have to start to implant and recognize these wins, because that's going to help you believe it more. Another huge part, I think, like I mentioned, the not taking action, but it's also like you not practicing gratitude. Gratitude is so important when it comes to manifestation. That's why for December, we're tying both of those things together, because why would you have more if you can't even recognize what you do have? And so gratitude is about giving thanks just internally, or you can speak it out if it helps you, write it down in a journal, and just acknowledging what there is that you have experienced. I think I had a little section because I do actually believe gratitude is like a huge part. It's a huge way to break through any blocks that are holding back manifestation. And some ways you can do this are like writing down, 3 things in the morning and at night of something you're grateful for. I like to practice this with my kid. She usually won't want to like say her things to me. I can usually get one thing out of her, but that's fine, whatever. I don't push it. But like, what are you grateful for today? I'm grateful I got to have my nice glass of Celtic sea salt water in the morning. I woke up, I felt like warm once I got my robe on, like, whatever it might be. Speak these gratitudes, write them down, have that gratitude journal. You can write multiple gratitudes down. It doesn't have to just be 3. Another great tool I find are those like gratitude rampages or rampage of appreciation. Abraham Hicks does. You can find those on YouTube. They just kind of like put you again into this like state or flow. And then I find like I feel the energy. It creates like an emotionality around it. Another cool trick that I got from some of those Damon Brown books is this idea of looking around the room that you're in 5 minutes a day. Like they say, I think they call it the daily practice. But every day doing this practice where you just sit and you just ask, how did I become so abundant? I think they use it for word, how did I become so wealthy in the particular working that they use it for? And yet there's this like power of like, how did I become so abundant? And just keep asking, and you'll start to get like ideas and influences. You might like look around and be like, oh yeah, like that painting. I remember when I got that, like, oh, I am so abundant. That was so cool how it came onto my path. How did I become so abundant? How did I become so joyful, so at ease? How did my life become so amazing? Just let it come and move. And like, that's a form of gratitude. So I kind of talked about the magical journal. A couple other things I'm going to just add to that. Because like there's, a lot of the different magical practices, they say to have this, and it's kind of like requirements, like with the AA, different things like that. It's like you have to keep a journal and keep track of that, and keep track of your manifestations, keep track of your rituals, keep track of the things that are showing up. And to me, I personally use my journal for like deeper reflective thoughts, along with when I do a ritual, or if there's some type of practice or intention that I'm setting, I make sure I really note it. But you may also want to add there, like, okay, what are the planetary like alignments, astrology around that day, the moons, like when you did the ritual, like the time, maybe how your mood and your thoughts were that day, how you were feeling, like if you were sick or if you had a lot of energy. I love keeping track of dreams because I think dreams are a part of the manifestation process again. You know, a lot of the inner reflective healing work can happen in the dream time, which is going to then help you to create that experience in your physical reality. And you can also write down the synchronicities, what's showing up. Synchronicities meaning those repetitive experiences that you are witnessing in your, like, with your senses, your five senses. So, you know, what's one in particular recently, I would say? Like particular authors' names that are showing up very specifically. I'm like, oh, Mitch Horowitz, I saw here. Oh, now like I listened to an essay this morning and it was him narrating it. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool, right? Like these are synchronicities. It's like there's continual patterns happening. It could be number patterns too, kind of like Real Cowboy Dan was mentioning. 444, 111, like time on the clock, you know, whatever it might be. Usually to me, when I'm seeing a lot of synchronicities and those patterns in my world, it means I'm on the right path. Like another huge synchronicity for me is Land Rovers. And that's like a whole other thing, but I'll like know and sense when a Land Rover is coming. It's bizarre. And when that happens, it'll be like, there'll be so many. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, thank you. And then when I'm not really in a creative, like consciously creative way, it seems like that kind of minimizes. So I want to just like reiterate that law of correspondence here, that concept of as above, so below, as below, so above. And, you know, we say that from a macrocosmic, microcosmic. So what's happening in the spiritual world happens in the physical world, but also like what's happening in your internal world is going to be happening in your external world. So just something to be aware of. If you're seeing certain things in your physical reality, maybe that's showing you a sign of where things can change in your life. Okay. And continue to like tap into the energy of your magic, your visualization ability, your ability to feel and sense. It's a beautiful thing to be human. I was going to share another visualization technique, but I think I'm going to leave that for the moon card. We'll be going into that in the next week or two with our Explore the Tarot series. So I feel it's like a lot of information right now. Maybe you want to come back, watch that moon card experience. So now I'm going to share with you some books. Just some of my favorite, I would say, texts on manifestation, or something that's like things that have helped me, I guess, and might be worth trying for yourself. The first one I mentioned, the law of correspondences, but I would definitely say the Kabbalion is like a great place, this Hermetic philosophy, you know, wherever this text comes from. It's not like it's that ancient, you know. Some people have negative views about it, but I think it can kind of open up your mind to ideas of like how your thoughts create your reality, how the world reflects parts of you, how the world operates, so that you can start to have a deeper understanding of like your role or place within it all. So I'm going to put a link to all these so you can see that at some point. Ooh, I didn't grab all of the books that I have from these Damon brands, but like one that like I kind of started with is this Words of Power. And it's definitely like a neat text because it has specific themes that you can then use as your intention. So like there's like learn about the near future, make somebody kinder, which again, I don't know, can you control people? And bad luck, to win an argument. You know, there's these different energies and they have pretty like straightforward books. My understanding, is this the one? Might be a different one, but sorry, I'm trying to think of these. A lot of these are from the book of Moses, sixth, seventh book of Moses. They kind of draw upon a bunch of different philosophies and practices. It's like a mishmash, I would say, but they kind of hone them or really push that they've utilized these or had other people practice with success their techniques. But this one, and there's a few other ones kind of the similar concept that I really like from this Damon brand. It's called Secret Magical Sounds That Manifest Your Desires. And what else is that? Another great book that I like from them is Success Magic, and it's tied to Enochian angel magic. It's like really the only angelic, like Enochian magic I've personally done, like besides some of the calls, but like I'm a novice at that. Like I cannot speak to the true like John Dee approach. And the Success Magic is one that I really have found like insightful and timely. So yeah, I would invite you to check that one out. I'm going to put these all here if I can. Might have to separate it into two. And then the other one I want to speak to is my own little lovely book. Oh, is it going to let me do this? There we go. So there's one. There's two. I don't even know if those links are going to work. Oh, it's right here. And that is the 72 Names of God. Kind of the same as like Words of Power, Success Magic, in that you have the sigils, talismans in the book, but this is working with the divine names of God. There's 72 names. And for me, this was like a magical grimoire that I created after working with these divine names. And the cool thing about each name is that there's different intentions that they hold. So these are my experiences with the names, with the intentions that came through when I was working on them. Working on them through an actual year and a half working of it. And then again, when I was writing this book and going through each one, oh my goodness, I was like, oh, now I see why this is showing up again. But these divine names can really help you to create shifts in your life, and you can use it to manifest, like bring about change, right? Allow the new opportunities to show up. And mostly to me, this is about working on an internal level. So I will go in and like choose the name or, intuitively choose it, or some name will come through that then I can enter into that meditation, call upon the name and see what shows up in my reality. So if you are interested, this is the 72 Names of God, a magical grimoire. And the links are all in the chat, so you can check those. So I don't think there was any other questions from anyone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I don't think so. At least nothing that I have not answered. Sweet. So yeah, I want to thank you all for being here. Let's just end with a rune. See what rune wants to kind of guide us out as we come to the end of today's Mystic Hotline. But something that's going to help us with our manifestations as we come to the end of 2025. Algiz. So knowing that you are protected even when you are in your power. And perhaps for some of you, this concept of manifestation It's scary because it makes you realize that you actually are a very powerful human being, that you create your reality. And we oftentimes don't want to receive that insight because it's like that means then we have to be responsible for the things that are showing up and then make the changes, the necessary changes. But what if you can tune into this room today and see it as less as of a curse as it is more of a blessing? Thanking your spirit, thanking your guides, that great creator for the opportunity to be able to come to this planet at this time and to create, manifest that life that you are feeling the inner desire, burning desire to experience. So algiz, algiz, algiz. I'm breathing that in. Thank you. So I want to thank you all for being here. May your month, end of November, entering into December, be just a fabulous manifesting time for you. If you would like to dive deeper, you haven't subscribed, do that, the subscribe button. And if you want to take part in any of the energy healings, the new moon ritual, we have a members only card pull, like card reading coming up this Thursday. If there's those things that you want to take part in, you can hit join. And yeah, we're going to be focusing on manifesting, how you can create. So removing the blocks, the fears, the things that are maybe holding you back from experiencing that. And yeah, allowing you to end this 2025 feeling more empowered so that 2026, it was mentioned, the horse year, you guys, I feel like things we've been shedding so much. Now we're going to be moving so fast, probably so powerfully. It's going to be great. Hi, Meredith. Hello. So, yeah, if that's something that interests you, you can hit join and take part in the membership. And until then, there's lots of lovely links you can check out in the description below, different ways we can connect, work together. I'm here to support and share my knowledge and wisdom and understanding. But yeah, I want to thank you all for being here today. And until the next time, bye.